coming. Yeah, this is going to be like a casual event. I'm just going to talk about how the harp works, how I make music using electronic components. But at any point, if anyone has any questions, you can raise your hand, just shout it out. This doesn't have to be like a formal thing with a Q&A at the end. Like, now it's time for questions. Like, any question that you have that comes up, let me know. I'm just going to kind of talk about my process and like how I do all the things that I do. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Emily Hopkins. I'm a YouTuber and a composer. I've been playing the harp for 23 years now, and I got into effect pedals back in 2019. So this harp is an electroacoustic pedal harp. Before I got this model harp, I was just playing purely acoustic. I was playing primarily classical music, kind of just by the book. I was a freelance wedding harpist for 10 years, all around the Long Island and NYC area. So I was kind of playing just like pop music, you know, Ed Sheeran stuff, like wedding classics, Here Comes the Bride, and that was great. I loved that, right? I was like, this is fun. But after a time, I'm kind of like, okay, where do I want to go with like the harp and with my artistry, right? And so for me, I always loved video games. And growing up in like the classical realm, there was kind of no space for video games as there, I mean, not as much as there is now. You know, I started taking harp lessons in 2001, and growing up, like, I would bring, like, I don't know, like Howl's the Moving Castle, if anyone knows the song Merry Go Round of Life, like, I brought that piece to my harp professor. I was like, can I learn this? And she was like, what is this? Like, why do you don't want to just do Bach? And I'm like, no, I want to, like, do the stuff I like. So that's the stuff that I get excited about. You know, I am huge, like, MMORPG fan. Like, I love playing like games like Skyrim, like Warcraft, and like for me, the traditional harp sound, you know, is fine. It's good, but I feel like it's always used in like tavern songs. You know, like you go get a drink, like I'm drinking mead, and it's like, yeah, the harp is like playing the stuff. It's like always just like this, or like, you know, it's like that typical sound. And so for me, I love how the harp sounds. Obviously, I mean, I've been playing it for 23 years, but at a certain point, I was kind of like, wow. There's many different ways that you can manipulate the harp sound. There's many different ways you can change it. You know, you can add reverb, you can add delays, and you can process them in different ways. So I didn't really know that until 2019, which is kind of late in the game because guitar pedals have existed for so long. But I just didn't think that you could apply them to the harp. And when I did discover it, it was kind of just like my mind kind of exploded. It was like a rabbit hole. Starting from there, I was like, I gotta try every one. So Mood was my first pedal, and it's crazy because it's still on my board now. It's just a staple for me. And I'll show you how I use it later. But I guess I'll start off just kind of talking about how the harp actually works. So basically, I tell everyone it's like a piano. The red strings are C, and the black strings are F. And this is like your C7 chord. It's like your F. Right? It's gorgeous. We love it. Beautiful. Chef's kiss, right? And the typical like harp sound is like, you know, like here, the dream sequence, of course, which is like beautiful. We love this, you know, gorgeous. And that's fine. But for me, like, you know, I didn't really see the harp being used as a solo instrument. I didn't think it was like cool. You know, like I think the coolest thing in the harp world when I was growing up was like a harp with flames on it. I was like, that's not that cool. To me, that's not that cool. So I think mixing the guitar pedals is very cool. This harp is very special because it has 4 outputs. So you can do some crazy stuff with it. You can split the signal and have an effect just on the bass. You can have a different effect on the mid. You can have an effect on the high. So you can like have like, I mean, in theory, you could have like 3 pedal boards on different sections of the harp. And then there's one output that just, you know, puts an effect on the whole harp. And that's what I use primarily. And so basically I'm just mixing the signal with the whole harp. So any like pedal that I have on the harp is going to apply to the whole thing. Yes, we have a question. Thank you. Please.
Was this custom?
No. So actually this is I mean, it wasn't a popular model when I got it, but now, which is crazy, there's like a 1.5-year wait list for it. It's a French, I think it's because of me, or like partly, at least in part. I will take credit for it, in part. It's a French model. They make it handmade in France. It's called the Kamek Little Big Blue 44. Has 44 strings, which is a little smaller than like a traditional like concert grand harp. This is like a semi-grand. It's a little smaller because I'm small. And it has 44 strings. Typically harps have like 47, but like honestly, who's missing? This is so high up, like, and there's like one down here, but like, you know, like you're fine without it. I've never missed it. So for me, as soon as I saw this harp, I was like, oh, this is my dream harp. And it allows you so much creative freedom because again, you can put different effects on the harp. And how many people are familiar with guitar pedals in general? Just so I get a, okay, cool, a lot of you. So if you're not, basically they're like sound manipulation boxes, you know, primarily used for guitar, but they can be used on any instrument with a pickup, or you can run a mic through it, you know, you can process sound through them. I sent my dog Kevin's snorts through a pedal once, and it was fun, it was cool. So you can send audio through it to process it. I guess I will show you how this sounds with an effect, just so we can get an idea of what we're doing here. Going? Okay. Is it coming through that speaker or is it coming through? Okay. Alright, so it's a little wild, but recently I've been finding that I really love using this Chase Bliss Habit pedal, which processes my sound as I'm playing and kind of feeds it back to me. So you're gonna hear some interesting textures as I'm playing. So you hear those little bits of like processing? I love that. This is kind of something that I discovered recently. On my YouTube channel, I primarily did gear demos for a while. And Habit was a pedal that Chase Bliss sent me, and they said, hey, can you show how to use this? And at first I was like, can I? Like, this is crazy. I don't know. So I learned how it worked, and I made a demo of it. And then I was like, do I dare play this live? Because it's so unpredictable. It takes your playing and it like spits it back out in interesting ways. And it's kind of like having a conversation with yourself. So I recently used this for the first time at a live performance, and I just love how it responded. So now that's what's on my board, but my board is always constantly changing with different pedals. I'm always swapping things out. But that's a little interesting pedal that I'm just really loving right now. Mood is just, right now, having like a nice gritty reverb. Let me try and have it off, just so you can hear. I really love giving the harp texture and kind of just giving it a little more oomph, you know. It doesn't really change the sound too much. And then this is just plain. Again, very nice, just normal harp, but I like processing it like it. Okay, so that's pedals. And later on, you guys can come up and try, and I hope you do, because it's really important to like feel how this feels. Like you can play like plain harp, and then you can play it through a pedal, because it's just the difference is just crazy. So I'm kind of jumping around here, but I started a YouTube channel, showed how pedals worked, was terrified to be on camera, and was terrified to start a YouTube channel, but I was like, let me just practice and I'll be fine. When you, like, please, if you are familiar with the YouTube channel, don't go back to the old videos, because I'm like staring like a deer in headlights. I'm like, this is the Chase Bliss Mood pedal, and it does this, and it's great. And like, so over time, I've been doing it for 5 years now, I guess, and I've gotten more comfortable on camera, I've gotten more comfortable speaking, I hope, you know, it feels good. But at first I just was like, I don't really know what I'm doing with this. And it's kind of scary, because when you graduate with your music degree, you're like, what do I do now? Like, I have my degree, I guess I'll do freelance work. But then I kind of just fell into this, and here we are. And it's led to some really amazing opportunities. It's led to me finding what I love to do, what I'm passionate about, which is music tech. It's very cool. I also, speaking about video game music in particular, what I really love doing is mixing the harp with video game elements. Like I said, I'm a huge video game, I guess, aficionado. Some of my favorite games are like the old school, like not old school, but like, I don't know, N64 games. Is that old school at this point? I don't, you know, kind of, it depends on how old you are. I don't know, you know, like Game Boy stuff. Like I love like Banjo-Kazooie. I love just like 8-bit, like I love that crunchy texture of like low-res 8-bit stuff, which I guess is even before N64. But I have some fun stuff that I brought today. And I'll show you like what I like to do when I get like video game, like, I don't know, video game work. Because I've worked on a few video game things recently. One of them was Hello Kitty Island Adventure for Switch, which is really fun. I wasn't like able to do like 8-bit stuff on that. The most recent work that I did was for Star Wars Outlaws, which just came out. I did like 8 tracks on there. You're not gonna hear harp in that though, because I changed the sound so much that it sounds like a koto. I used different pedals to make it sound like more punchy. But you know, I haven't posted about that publicly yet, but that's out. It's very cool. And right now I'm working on like a small indie release, like a horror game. I'm composing the whole thing. So I've done composition work before. I've done composition for animations. I worked for DreamWorks, for Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken. And I can talk about that process too if anyone has questions about that. But it's very fun, very cool. And part of it is not just composing, but it's also finding the right textures and the right music gear to pair with the harp. Question, yes.
What kind of creative freedom do you have when working on a game like that or any of these franchises? What do you do to start that process and what does that look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. It really depends, I guess, on the scope of the work and the project in particular. For DreamWorks, they sent me a lot of pre-scored out cues, so they would send me like, hey, can you record this piece? But I worked closely with the composer, and it was very cool because at some time she'd be like, hey, measures 16 to 23. I don't have anything to fill in, but I feel like harp would fit there well. So like if you have ideas, like send them over. And it was crazy because I didn't know until the movie came out that a lot of my original like little, I guess like sketches actually made it into the movie. And I was like, that's me. Like I was so excited. I was like, there I am. Like I did that. But like a lot of it depends on the scope of the work and the project. A lot of them are just pre-written. But what's cool is that they write the notes and they say, play this passage, but they don't pick the effects. So they kind of leave that to me. So I kind of like, send like a sound palette, I like to call it. It's like a little like tasting, I'm like, here are some options that we could go, like that we could take, like different routes. Like if you want a reverb here, you want a delay, you want it like textural, kind of like I explore and I send them options. So I think that's a really cool way of doing it, is that if they send me a written part, I can kind of be more flexible and have more creative freedom with the textures and the sound of the harp. So yeah, it kind of just depends on the work. For Star Wars Outlaws, it was all pre-scored out. I was like, sick, I love this, it's cool. I was glad that they didn't leave me creative freedom because I was like, Star Wars, oh my God, but it's very fun. So yeah, I have some interesting stuff up here that I brought. I have a little drum machine. I'm just gonna move around. If anyone wants to come up, you can. But like, what I like to do when I compose is usually like set a beat. I really like lo-fi music. I'm a big fan of just like, tasty melodies. So I like setting like a percussive element. Hold on, this video. Yeah. So this is a cool little drum machine. I usually leave this running. Especially if you see YouTube channels, like on my YouTube channel, I do like little sketches. So like for this stuff, like it's fun to like. Also, I always improv, so I have to figure out what the mood is. So I like throwing down a beat and playing off to it, but I'll let you guys play that later. That's the machine I like. And then let's see. This is something I'm really excited about, which is anyone familiar with Arduinos? Okay, oh, a lot of people, okay. Okay, I'm just gonna go. Okay. So I found this really cool thing called Arduino Boy, and I have no idea, like, I didn't in the past. I didn't know how to solder or like build things. So I bought this off a website called Catskill Electronics, which is very cool. They don't exist, or they don't sell this on it anymore, but it turns your keyboard into a Game Boy, like essentially like lets you use Game Boy sounds. So I'm gonna show you this. I don't know. This is pretty cool. I like this a lot. And maybe it's just me, but I hope you guys also find it fun. I like modding a Game Boy to have like a lit up screen and to be able to do this, but right? Is that like cute? Is that like fun? I feel like this is both cute and fun. And it's polyphonic, so you can like play chords and stuff. So what I do is sometimes I change it to just like the noise channel. It's like a percussive hit. And with this you can record a little sequence. Oh, that's terrible. right? But let me do after that. Like that's like your typical Game Boy sound. Okay, and you can like change all the Game Boy sounds using this, and you can like really like dial in what you want. I just use like standard Game Boy sounds. But I brought this because I think it's cool, and I can explain the setup later too. But the best thing to do is, I use that a lot in like my compositions on the YouTube channel. If I'm like showcasing gear, so I want to like put down a little melody. Okay, that's I want that actually, so we can play with it. Yeah, I'm just gonna like yap for a little bit, and then I want everyone to come up and like try stuff. I have my little lever harp over here. That also has a built-in pickup. I use that with effects as well. It just has a different tone to it. Like I can show you what I mean. Like this has a more like nice classical sound, and that one sounds more folky, if that makes sense. So switch. Has like a different kind of sound. So I use both to compose and to record, and when I'm in my home studio and I get a project, I have to decide which one will work better for the project. If I'm doing a lot of different key changes, I'll use this one because, like I said, this is a pedal harp, and in order to change the key signatures, you just have to push these little foot pedals. So right now, like for example, each pedal corresponds to each string in the scale. So this D pedal is D flat, and then if you push it in the middle, it becomes D natural, and then you can push it again, it becomes D sharp. And so all the strings on the harp instantly change. Yeah, so for example, like if I keep all the pedals flat, like at the up position, they're all flat. So so that determines the key. So now if I put them in the middle, then you're in C major. So if you want to go like G major, you just push the F pedal down and it becomes sharp. So you're not stuck in one. A lot of people think the harp is like pre-tuned, and then you're stuck in it and you're like, have fun, but like you can change the keys depending on what, you know, where the pedals are. Yep.
So what is it like to tune a harp?
I can show you. It's not, I mean, it's fine. It's like, a lot of people think like the joke, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, what is that joke? Does anyone know about the harp thing? It's like, there's like the, yeah, half the time. They spend half the time tuning it. Like, I've heard that so much, and I'm like, yeah, it takes 5 seconds. Like, it's unless it's like really out of tune. Like, I didn't even tune today, and it's fine. But also, I think that this is kind of like settling. Since I've had this harp for like, I guess 5 or 6 years now, maybe, or maybe 7. It's kind of just like the strings are broken in. I haven't changed the set of strings in a while, so it kind of I don't know, gets more comfortable in the environment. So you don't have to change it too much. But there's a little tuning key, and each peg has to be churned a little bit. So you can do like microtonal stuff if you want to. I'm good. Not doing that. You know, like, I don't need to necessarily, but yeah, it's pretty quick.
So,
Yep.
Would it be like hard to play a chromatic scale on it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is. I mean, like, I don't like it. Like my teacher would hate me right now. Like, you can do it, that's jazz, you know? It's jazz. But like, my teacher used to make me do it. She'd be like, Emily, chromatic scale time. And I'm like, no, I don't want you, because your feet are like, it's like C sharp, D, you know, D sharp. So like, you can do chromatic stuff. I'm out though. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like when I get a piece, and like if I see sheet music that has like a chromatic run, I'm like, oh damn, like I don't love it. I can do it and I can practice it, but like I'm not gonna be happy about it. You know, it's fine. It's possible though. Yeah.
what kind of pickups are in harps?
So they're piezo pickups. Yeah. Oh, there's a follow-up question. Okay,
Yeah.
ask me questions.
I was just
okay.
wondering if that like changes the way you use pedals, if it's piezo based on, you know, if that changes, because, you know, a lot of pedals are designed for electric guitar pickups. If
Yeah.
that changes anything?
And that's the weird thing. Like, I'm obviously biased because I'm a harpist and not a guitarist, but like sometimes I think the pedals are made for me instead. Like, I think the way they react, I mean, I don't know if it's like a range thing, like, because there's 44 strings, and like, when when I try out a pedal, I'm going from the bottom to the top, and I'm seeing how it responds. But like, I think they respond better to. I mean, like, cause obviously I watch demos on guitar, and they're good. You know, I like them. It's cool. But like, I feel like they respond a lot better to piezo pickups. But again, that could just be a me thing. Yeah.
In the same realm of like moving pedals while you're playing, have you ever messed around with like doing bends on notes?
Oh, like string bends?
Yeah.
So what's interesting is that they have a device called the Virtual Jeff Pro, which I've attached to that harp, and I've done a video on it where it's like it can do a digital string bends, which is pretty cool. But in terms of like actual string bends, like the most I can do is like pedal slides. But I feel like that's still like jazz.
Slide it slower.
Let me see, like it's kind of one speed, because when you hit a certain point, I'll do this, but everyone, I'm sorry. I should probably turn the amp off because it's a gross sound. So like if you catch the gear in the wrong spot, which I'm like always terrified of doing. If I hit like this, that sound, like, I mean, you could do it intentionally if you want to, but like for me, I'm like, that's like a mistake. Like, but you can't really do like a slow string bend, because at a certain point that you can feel it later when you play, if you want to play. There's a point where it just goes like you can see these gears moving. You can't really do it slowly, unfortunately. There's like an ugly buzz that happens. Yeah, but yeah.
I think earlier I heard you play a harmonic. So I
Yeah.
imagine that's also possible on the harp.
Yes,
considering
those
it's
are-
a string.
Those are possible. So you can do harmonics like you can on a guitar. You just cut the string in half. So this is what the string sounds like normally, and then it jumps the octave when you cut it in half. There's also quarter harmonics, which I've learned recently, which I'm not good at. Okay.
Ooh.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah, so you can do them anywhere. And it's like a really cool composition technique, especially if you run that through pedals. Let's try it. Even if you miss a harmonic, which I miss like 50% of the time, I feel like, it still has like a nice percussive element. So I'm not too hard on myself if I miss them. Like, I gotta guess where half the string is. They're different lengths every time. How am I gonna know, you know? But yeah. Ooh. I do like how they get processed.
So other than like tuning it, what kind of maintenance do you have to do?
So you're supposed to change your strings every 2 years. Supposed to. Because the strings are really expensive. Like this one string is like $30. So like, I know, not every string is like that though. These are like synthetic nylons up here. So they're like a couple bucks, but they sound like it, you know? They sound like they're a couple bucks. These are gut strings, so they're actually, it's kind of gross. They're made from like like sheep intestines, but like, I feel a little bit better about that because they're not like using the sheep primarily for the harp string market. You know what I mean? There's not like a demand for it, so like it's kind of like the byproduct of it, which helps me sleep at night a little bit. I feel a little bit better about it. But these are gut strings, and like they have such a rich tone that you can't really like replace with synthetics, you know? So these are gut strings, and then these are just nice, like just wire strings to have like a nice bass on it. In terms of other maintenance, I get my harps regulated every year. There is a harp technician, she lives in Brooklyn, that I meet with her. Her name's Liza, she's awesome. And she has to go into the harp and like make sure these pins are moving exactly in the right place. Otherwise, if they are like a hair off, then your tuning is off. Which has happened to me. You can also, on different harps, you can break pedal rods. These pedal mechanisms that go through the harp's column can snap. Luckily on this kind of model, it doesn't do that often because it's made a little different. Kamek really kind of revolutionized how the harp works and how the pedals change. So luckily I don't have to worry about that, but I guess you should also dust it. Like I don't, but like you probably should dust it. But it's kind of, I mean, surprisingly easy maintenance for an instrument that looks like so grandiose, you know? Like you don't really have to do a ton of work, which is good. Yeah.
How did you get that thing here?
Yeah, okay, that's a fun question. So there's something called the harp cart, and it's like patented, like you have to get a harp cart for it. And basically you throw like a giant oven mitt cover over it to protect it, and then you like kind of just wheel it around. This one is 70 pounds, so it's not like terrible. There are heavier harps, yeah, like it's It's a lot, but I have it down to a science now. I drive a big minivan, there's no seats in the back, it's the Harpmobile, so you just kind of like put it in there and drive it around. It's not as bad as you would think, yeah. Yes.
I've noticed that you've been playing with a lot more like gentler and softer effects. How does it react with, in your experience, more harsh effects like, I don't know, distortion or fuzz?
Yeah, so fuzz and distortion is interesting. I didn't bring one today because I was like, you know, because that's how I feel about it. I feel like, you know, like I have so many fuzz pedals and I'm like, should I bring one today? Like, I don't want to be a hater, but like I'm not a fan of it. Like it has its place, right? But like on harp, like the only thing I can do is like that low, like, and just let it rock, which sounds cool, right? It sounds fine. Unless I have like a really heavy noise gate, I can't really like play like fuzz passages like you can on guitar. I haven't quite figured it out yet. I mean, I've done it, it's fine, but it's not like, I don't love it, you know? Like, I like the more, like the textural effects better and like the processing effects. Like, I love avalanche run, which is a delay, a reverse reverb, and like I like just things that manipulate the harp sound without just turning it into like fuzz, you know what I mean? Like, it's cool and I like it, but like I wish it was a little easier to use on harp. But on guitar, it sounds great. It's very cool. Yeah, do we have more questions? This is fun. Yeah.
So, have you got any like pushback from like the traditional harpist community?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, you get pushback from anyone doing anything. You know what I mean? There's just people that just get mad. There's people that get mad like if you park the wrong way. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, so doing anything is gonna be pushback. Luckily, not anymore. As my channel, I guess, has gained traction, I see fewer comments about that. But in the beginning, yeah. First of all, they got mad that I had a nose ring. I was like, why does that bother you? Like, the kind of comments that I was dealing with in the beginning was like so strange. And for me, when I started my YouTube channel, like I didn't have like any thick skin or like any barrier at all. So like someone would be like, I hate your haircut. And I'd be like, I'll change it. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, I had no like, I don't know, I guess like barrier from it. But now over time, just being a person on the internet, like you kind of have to like, you know, get a thicker skin, which kind of sucks because you shouldn't like need to, but like, you know, with mean comments and people who think the harp should be like sweet and like beautiful, and they just want the harp to sound like the dream sequence. They just want this, you know, and like that's fine, that has a place and we all love that, but like I am trying to show like, I guess, what a versatile instrument this can be and like what it can do, and it can be a solo instrument. Because I've gotten comments from people that are like, how do you just play by yourself and not an orchestra? Like, oh, I got the best comment. Someone said the harp is a ringtone instrument, which isn't that great? Like the harp, like you just playing an instrument that's made for ringtones. I'm like, sir, but there's much more you can do with that, okay? But you can make ringtone. That's my ringtone. Like, you're right. But yeah, I've gotten like pushback from people that are just like, especially when I put distortion on the harp, they're like, you're ruining the natural sound of the harp. I'm like, okay, go. There's plenty of other channels that are natural harp sounds that you can hear. It's not for you. Like, it's okay. Like, you can just choose to watch something else. I didn't understand why that like people got so uptight about it. But yeah, I think now as I'm like trying to educate people more on like what the harp can do and how it works with pedals, and like educating on music tech and pedals, like I think I hope people are kind of coming around to it more. But you know, with any new thing, people are like, that's stupid, you know, like that's dumb. And you're like, okay, that's fine, I'm still gonna do it. Like, yeah, I'm just gonna have more fun with it now. And I love getting mean comments too, and dealing with the mean comments, that's always fun. That's always great. But yeah, so do we have more questions? If not, like, oh yeah.
This is less of a question and more of a comment. Did I see you do a harmonic earlier?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It's fun to do it. And if anyone wants to try this too, you're more than welcome to. I always get mad at Russ because he can't play harp, but he just comes up to the harp and does that. He just cuts the string in half. I'm like, bro, like, it's ridiculous. Very fun, very cool. Yeah, I do like harmonics. They hurt your hands after a while, but I'm used to it. Yeah.
Are you doing that with your thumb or with your nails?
So the thumb. So when you play the harp, my harp professor told me that you should try to aim to get as much flesh on the strings as possible, which is kind of a gross way of saying it, but you want like as much like skin contact as you can to get like a nice like big sound. So when you do a harmonic, you're cutting the string in half with your palm. I'll try it here. So wherever the half of the string is, which I'm guessing, right here, then you're plucking with the side of your thumb. just have a nice, crunchy, gritty reverb on, so that's making it more beautiful. I'm kind of cheating. I should try to keep that off. That sounds glorious. Yeah, harmonics are fun. I'm trying to think of any other harp techniques. I mean, I've never seen, like, you can do some techniques with your nails. Like, you could do a glissando with the back of your nails, like texture. That's cool. For me, I can't have like any long nails at all because it gets in the way of playing. But yeah, should I play a little bit? I can play something with habit, just to like, we're just chilling, we're just hanging. It doesn't have to be like a formal performance. But if anyone wants to like come up and see, you can. I guess I'll just show you how I like to use habit, which is cool. And I like that it processes like, you know, these little bits and kind of sounds like video game-y. To me, it does, like low res, like bit crushed kind of sounds. Yeah. I just want to see more harp music in video games too, because I'm just tired of being like fantasy music, which it's beautiful, but like it can also hold its own in other genres, which I think is cool. Also, if you have questions while I play, you can ask. I'm just all improvising, so. Sometimes I like to play like by the soundboard to get like that nasally tone. Yeah, so that's habit right now. I call it like the memory box. Like I think also it's referred to as a memory box. Like it is taking my playing, see, and it's like recording. It's listening to what I'm playing, and it's spitting this out at random intervals.
What did you say it's called?
Habit? Yeah, basically. Yeah, it's like taking my playing and like taking tiny bits, like really, really small parts of the notes and just making it granular and feeding it back. But like, it's unpredictable. Like, so, I mean, I don't know when the stutters are gonna happen, which kind of makes it, like using it really beautiful because I kind of respond, it's like a response. So for me, I stay in the same key when I'm using this because if I'm modulating, it's gonna be interesting. That's gonna be more like microtone, that's like jazz, you know, like that's like when you say, yeah, jazz, but it's like really a mistake, you know what I mean? Like it really doesn't sound good, but you're like, interesting, yeah. So I love habit, but yeah, tough to use live, but it's fun. Yeah.
Has the way you've been practicing changed since you started using pedals?
Oh yeah. first of all, when I started using pedals, I was not comfortable at all with improv. I'm classically trained, I play what's on the paper, I play what my teacher told me to play, you know, like, if I'm playing the Hindemith Sonata, I'm playing the Hindemith Sonata, you know, I'm not being like, what do I feel, what do I wanna play? And so for me, when I started, especially like using pedals and starting my YouTube channel, like I left a lot of space. So I could hear what the pedals are doing and how they responded to what I was playing. And also I wanted to make a clear demonstration for anyone listening, like, here's what this pedal sounds like on harp, like, let it cook, you know, like let them cook. Like when it, like there's a big chord, like you can listen to what it's really doing if there's a lot of space. Now, in my live performances, since I know how to use pedals and I'm more comfortable with them, I'm starting to not leave as much space, which is really interesting. Yeah, I like how to spit me back out. And so it's definitely shaped the way I play and like shaped, I guess, like how I express myself and my artistry, which is really interesting. Because when I play the harp dry, I feel like it's sort of, I'm gonna turn them off. It reminds me of like playing like wedding gigs, you know, like I'm kind of just playing like, it's fine, it's pretty, it's beautiful, but like for me, I like getting weird with it. You know, I like changing the harp sound in these different ways. So, for sure, yeah.
I see that you also sometimes, like, on your YouTube channel, will play, like, the keyboard in order to get effects, music into your composition. I was wondering if the way you play is inspired in any way by the way that you play the harp.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think so. I mean, also the way I play the harp, I think, is pretty heavily shaped by my love of video games. For me, like, I struggled with this for a while. Like, I like simple melodies, you know? Like, I like a thing that I can sing in my head. Like, for me, all my favorite music, like Kraid's Lair from Metroid, right? Like, I can sing the melody, but, like, the harmony's great, but, like, I like a recognizable tune. Like, my favorite music from, like, Skyrim or, like, I don't know, Banjo-Kazooie, like, I can, like, hum it. Like, I can hum the theme. And so for me, the harp as an instrument, a lot of harp compositions are, like, very flowery and very technically complex, which is great, and we love that. But for me, I think something maybe that other harpists are not also comfortable with is just simplifying it. Like, you don't have to play, you know, a crazy sonata passage to make something interesting, you know? And especially if you're using effects. I mean, like, for me, I like simple chord structures. Like, when I do play, like, I like probably just, like, throwing down a nice bass like that, and just like a nice stretch, and then maybe changing up the rhythm a little bit and giving like a good harmony. But like really what is happening is like I really like using my right hand and kind of left hand like stays the same. And that's not to say that like video game music is like simple. Like there's many video game soundtracks that are like complex and everything, but like I think for me, I don't know, maybe like I don't really quite know how to put into words, but I definitely do think it has an impact on me, especially the way I play keyboard too. Like, I usually keep it pretty simple, maybe like 2 chords that alternate or like 4 chords. I'm not like, here's an augmented and here's a diminished and like here's like these crazy things. Like, I usually just try to be like, this is really nice, and like I'm gonna keep it simple. So I think they also, the way I play keyboard and the way I play harp is definitely related, and also like where it came from is probably like my roots and just like loving video game music, if that makes sense. Okay. Yeah.
Could you talk more about like coming from a classical background, getting comfortable with improvising?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. So when I started, I guess being on camera. So for me, my improv journey started when I was on camera for YouTube. So in 2019, I got a pedal. I spent like $400 on this Chase Bliss Mood, which looked different. It was version 1. And I was like, I want to make a resource for other harpists. Before they drop $400 on a pedal that they don't know what it sounds like, I want to show them what it sounds like. So I just went through the presets on the pedal. I just played, you know, like, I just kind of played bullshit. I was like, I didn't know what to play, so I was like, I know the opening chords from Disney's Up. I was like, this is pretty, right? This is great. And I couldn't get off the page. I was like trying to think about like what I knew in my mind from pieces that I had played. And I was like, let me play a couple chords, like let me play a G chord. And I was terrified to do anything else. I think just the nature of wanting to demonstrate how music tech works, like you can't play the beginning of Up so many you know what I mean? You can only play like kind of 1 or 2 videos, and then everyone's like, well, she's playing the same thing. Like, she's got to play something else. So for me, I just started, I don't know, I guess out of necessity, I was like, let me try to play something else. And I kept it simple. And again, if you go back in the YouTube videos, you can see this. It's not good, but you can like go back to like my early videos and like I'm like struggling to figure out what to play. And just over time, it really like comes with time. There's like this fluidity that developed and like this, I guess, confidence and comfortability with like being okay with like if you make a wrong note. I like to say there's no wrong notes, just interesting ones. But that's probably just to help me sleep at night. But like, yeah, I got comfortable with improv out of necessity, I would say. And now I just feel very, like I think getting up in front of all of you and trying to improv something before, like me, even like 3 years ago, I would be like, whoa, no way, like can't do that. But over time it's gotten a lot more comfortable. And especially like coming from a classical background, it was difficult for me because I was like, I'm just here to interpret what the composer wants, not what I want. And then it finally was like, what do you want, Emily? What do you want to play? And I was like, pedals with the harp, it's fun. But yeah, over time it just developed over time. So I think that's like my biggest piece of advice when people say, how do you get comfortable with improv? Just like practice, which is kind of a silly answer because I feel like we all want to read a book and be like, now I know how to improv, but it just takes time. Yeah.
Are the pedals hardware-based or software-based? And are they do you know if they're proprietary? Like, is the algorithm?
Yeah, some are analog and some are digital. For Chase Bliss, they say, what do they say? Analog heart, digital heart, analog brain, or maybe I'm mixing it up. But some of them are purely analog and some of them are purely digital. I prefer analog or a mix of analog. I find digital to be too digital because I do like the natural sound of the harp, and I find that analog pedals kind of preserve it in a unique way. I'm not like an expert on like what's going on in there, but I do know some pedals are run with Arduino, which is really cool. Chase Bliss pedals, which I'm using now, are kind of like beyond me because they're like wild on the inside. I mean, we could open one up and look at it too. I'm not against that. But I think my favorite ones are either purely analog or a mix of analog and digital.
And a related question, is that the actual Game Boy Advance or is it the Arduino version?
Yeah, so that's a regular Game Boy Advance. I just modded the screen so it lit up, but
I see. So the sounds are directly from the chips.
yeah, the sounds. So there's a
Not-
cartridge
not
in there.
software. Okay.
Yeah, there's a cartridge, and again, like I'm not an expert on this, but I thought it was cool. And I'm sure someone else could explain it
It is
better.
very cool.
Yeah, right. And so it's pulling. I mean, from what I understand, it's pulling the Game Boy sounds from the Game Boy and the chip, and it's just running through a MIDI controller, which is dictating the sounds or the, I think. I just saw it on the website, and I was like, I'm gonna learn to solder. I'm gonna like learn to do this. So it's kind of messy right now, but please feel free to like come up and try it, and like hopefully someone can explain it better than I can. Yep.
What goes into like choosing what goes on your board?
I guess what I'm feeling, or like what the project is calling for. My board right now is because I had a performance in New York City at the Kasman Gallery, it was called. It was an art installation, and I was responding to certain works by an artist I really love, Lee Krasner, who uses collage. And so for me, I was like, oh, let me delve into the theme of collage and like using like old works and making it new. And I was like, Habit would be perfect for that. So this is my just board that I've been working on. And I said, oh, this is gonna be fun today to bring. But usually I have a bigger board that's like massive that has like everything on it. I have like a sustain pedal. I have a bunch of different stuff, but basically how I'm feeling or what the performance calls for is what I'm using as my palette, I guess. Yeah.
Do you have a pedal or anything that you like never take off when you're your boards, like a go-to?
That is a great question, and I'm glad you asked, because these three pedals never come off no matter what. But these are like, they're not fun pedals, they're like utility pedals.
Like
so
a,
they
like a
clean up.
compressor.
Yeah, like this is my bass compressor, my high pass filter. I don't know if we can hear it right now, but like, they just kind of like, there's an effect on it now, but this one's kind of like an input buffer that cleans up the low end. A high pass filter, again, preserves like the crispness of the top, and then like the bass compressor, obviously, just because the harp as an instrument gets really muddy on the low end. And if you don't use those three pedals, I found like those are kind of like magic to me. Like those always stay on, and if you don't use them, it kind of sounds bad. Like it can just get muddy and not clear. So those never leave my board. Usually I have Avalanche Run from Earthquaker devices on, but I was trying something different today. But yeah, Earthquaker is a staple for me, and these three especially are staple. Yeah.
Do you ever work with pedal manufacturers or
That's a great question. I can't say at this time, but maybe. I'm gonna leave it tentative. I'm not gonna answer, actually, sorry. I'm gonna skip that question, but like, maybe. Okay, yeah. But not anything current, not anything that's out yet. Yeah.
Have you ever done anything with plugging it into a modular synth or something like that?
Yes, so I have dove into the world of modular synth, and it's a rabbit hole, and it's not fun for my wallet, because I'm just constantly buying, I'm like, these modules 400 so small, how? Like, so I have a setup at home. I really like using the Moog DFAM and the M32. I have Spectravox, I have the new stuff. I recently worked with Moog for the first time to like demo those products, which was like, yeah, that's exciting. But yeah, modular I'm getting into. I'm figuring out how to mix that more with my music, and especially at performance-based things. I want to bring my setup and have a quick, easy setup and play along with it. So definitely, it's been a process. Like I've been.
Video with that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I have lots of stuff on YouTube. Like you can see like my journey, like my entry into the modular world. For a lot of pedal demos, I just do like modular examples. So it's kind of like, kind of mixed in with everything, but there's definitely modular only videos. And this is crazy, but I have a second YouTube channel, which is just gear demonstrations too, and there's a lot of modular stuff on there too. Yep.
When you do modular stuff, are you mostly using like traditional synthesizers, or are you using post-processing the harp?
I'm usually using traditional stuff. Like I have like an actual hardware, like physical hardware, and I don't do it in post. I do it before, and I'm like patching and like.
Sorry, I'm just processing.
What?
I'm just processing.
Oh, processing like.
Can you plug your I've seen people plug like guitar into a modular synth.
Oh, okay. I've done both. So I have sent the harp directly into the modular setup. I like it, but I'm not like super good. Like that's on YouTube too. You can see that, but like it's good. It's fine. I still have to like finesse it, I think, a little bit in order to really love it. But I really like using it as more of like an accompaniment to the harp, I think, that's going through pedals instead of sending the harp through the modular setup. But maybe that will change. I have to kind of figure out, still like kind of early on in the process with modular. It's a doozy, it's tough. Yep.
How would the harp work with the loopers?
Oh, with loopers, yeah. So it's funny, I don't often use loopers. I've tried in the past and they're fine, but I find that I don't know. I just don't think I've spent enough time with them. I wasn't crazy about it. I had like a Boss RC30 looper and it was fine, but I couldn't really find a spot for it in my performance. But I know a lot of harpists who do use loopers, and I know a lot of guitarists who use loopers and they love it. But for me, I don't know. I think I don't really always know where my compositions are going because they're improv based. So I could loop something, but then if I decide I don't want that loop, it'll just be quick, So I just kind of I don't know. I probably should get more into loopers now that you say it though. But I'm not opposed to it. I just haven't really found a spot for it. Do we have another question? Yeah.
Do you use pitch shifters at all? I know a lot of them are digital.
Yeah, I've used them in the past too. I've used the Pitchfork is one, right? I've used the Digitech Whammy for they're good too. They're fun. But again, I don't really have a spot, a permanent spot for them on my board. Maybe I'll find one soon. I think I just have to spend more time with it. Because a lot of time too, I'm demonstrating tech, I'm demonstrating gear, and then my roster is so full, my schedule is so full, demo this and try this, and I'm okay, I've demoed this and it's really fun, but I'm gonna put that on the on the side right now and then come back to it, and then my schedule explodes. I'm oh no, I don't have time to explore the whammy. But I do have this stuff, and I do like how it sounds on harp, but they can get finicky. They can get they're interesting on harp. Yeah.
Are you at the point where manufacturers are reaching out to you to demo their things?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Which it was kind of shocking when that happened, because I was hello, would you like me to demo this? And then at some point, now my schedule's pretty full of can you demo this? And we have a new release, which is really cool because I get the gear before it comes out, and it's really hard for me to stay quiet about it. But I'm not going to be the person to leak anything. I'm not going to talk about it before it comes out. But yeah, I'm at the point where my schedule's kind of full with new gear. It's very fun and it's a really cool job. So very grateful that it happened this way. It's cool. Yeah.
How many pedals do you think you have at this point?
I love this question. Oof. Like right now, how many are in my closet? Definitely over 100, which is sick. Definitely over 100. I tried cataloging them once because I was like, I should probably have a set list so I know where they are. But like, my roster's always changing. I'm constantly getting new gear. So, if I have to guess, like between 100 and 150, I guess. It's kind of a lot. Maybe like closer to 100. Maybe not 150. Like let's just say 100. Let's keep it at 100. I think that's a good amount. How many have I demoed though at this point? Probably definitely more than 100. So that's cool. It's fun. It's fun having an obsession. Kind of. Yeah.
Could you walk us, like, give us a quick example of the process that you go through to demo a pedal from like getting it to releasing and how you work with that?
Yeah. So basically, I set all the knobs to noon. I set them all in the middle, and I kind of just start playing. It's different. Like it depends on what the pedal is. Like I have a bit crusher here, AMA, and when I got that, I was like, oh, this is easy because it doesn't have that many knobs. It's a 5-knob thing, and like one is mix. So you're like, okay, that's fine. And then you just play around, like sample rate, resolution, reverb is easy. So like, let's just say like mix and reverb, like done. You know what those are. These three, like oscillation, resolution, sample rate. I'm like, oh, let me just like mess around and find out and see what happens. Like, so I usually set the knobs just to noon, and then I kind of see how it sounds, and then like also I read the manual too. I'm like, that's the first thing I do. Well, not always the first thing. I'm not gonna lie. Like I read the manual first. I don't. I play around and then I read the manual, and I kind of get into the nitty gritty. But first I just set all the knobs up, and then I, change the toggles if there's toggles. For Chase Bliss pedals, oh my god, the process of habit, like with all the dip switches at the top, I don't even want, like I sweat through my shirt when I was trying to like study. I was like, I have 3 days to figure out how this works. Because the turnarounds sometimes are tight. Like they'll send me a pedal, I'll be like, it's coming out on Tuesday, and they're like, it's Saturday. Yeah, the process is usually fun. It's a lot of exploration, and then once I figure out what the heck I'm doing, I'm like, okay, now I have to explain it in a nice, easy to understand way. Like I don't want to get too technical, and I also don't want to just read from the manual. Like I don't want to read what other people wrote about it. So it's kind of a fun process. We can play with Bit Crusher later if anyone wants to. But yeah, just kind of like messing around and then figuring out like where's my footing, where can I, and then like the musical examples I'll play and I'll say what's the easiest, like what's the best way to show this example. Like with reverb, leave a lot of space. With Bit Crusher, I want to like show runs and show how clean they are. And if the pedal doesn't respond well, then I will say it, like I will say it doesn't respond super well to this, or I'll find a different way to showcase what it does well, without kind of saying like, and if there's a pedal and it's just crappy, I'll just send it back. I'll just be like, this is not working well on harp, which has happened a lot, but I just don't really like to, I don't want to make them feel bad, like, someone built something and put effort into it, and like, that should be applauded no matter what. So if something doesn't respond well to harp, I'm like, it's just not really gelling with me, and that's okay. So yeah, it's a fun process. Okay, listen, I think now we should play a little bit. Like I think y'all should come up and like try the harp and try and see how it feels. We have Game Boy stuff, we have pedal stuff, we have little harp stuff. You can jump on there. And yeah, if you have any more questions, you can ask anytime. But thank you so much for listening to me yap, and thanks for all your questions, and thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I really like this whole hardware. I mean, you can get samples too, but like, it's pretty so tactile. And just hear it, and then like you can definitely use software with it, but you could do it. There's like analysis and stuff. I know, but I was like, I guess that's
Yeah.